What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about The Barn Part 2. So this was a first time watch for me. I had only ever seen the first one, and actually I was kind of following this movie before its release, and I was trying to see it when it initially came out around 2022, but I was like, how the heck do I find this movie? Like, I was like, did this movie come out? It was very difficult for me to find a way to watch it. But a couple years later, I finally checked it out because it was available to rent on Amazon. So that's nice. But yeah, this is a movie that I've been trying to watch for a couple years because, like I said in my previous video, I'm a fan of The Barn. So I've wanted to see the sequel. I finally checked it out. What is my overall opinion? So I thought it was decent. I didn't love this movie, but it was a nice continuation. It pretty much hit all the marks that the first one hit. Like, there was really not too much wrong with it, but there were a couple things that I disliked, and I did I do like the first one quite a bit better, but this is by no means a bad sequel. It was just decent for me. It was just serviceable. Like, it was cool to check it out, and I'm glad that I got to see the continuation of the story. But I would probably, like, in terms of like rewatchability, I probably wouldn't rewatch this that much. I would probably just stick to the first one. But anyways, now that I've given you all my opinion, I'm gonna jump into a quick plot summary. So the movie follows the surviving girl from the first movie, Michelle, and she is now, it's a couple years later, I believe it. Yeah, it's like the movie is set 3 years later. I believe it's 1992, and Michelle, she's in college now. She's in a sorority, and one of her sorority sisters is actually Josh's sister, and her name's Heather. And the sorority sisters, they have to put on an event, and they decide to do a haunted house, and the location that they choose for their haunted house is this barn. And basically this barn, even though like they don't initially know it's the same barn, it looks different. This barn is housing the three monsters from the first movie, and they are they're resurrected. And basically for the rest of the movie, the main cast of characters are trying to stop these three evil monsters, and people are getting picked off and killed left and right. So that is the basic plot summary. So like I said, this movie hits a lot of the marks that I thought the first movie did well. So once again, you have great kills, very creative kills, all practical effects. I thought the kills were great once again. I did like the dialogue. Again, there was a good amount of comedy, and the characters were pretty they felt like real people. They felt like real people in their late teens, early 20s. So I thought that the dialogue was good. There was way more nudity in this, and I mean, I always say that I don't really care that much about nudity, but this one woman who got nude in this, she was like this kind of gothic looking chick, and she was like thick AF. Like, oh my, like I'm not a perv or anything, but like I was not like her sequence where she got nude. Oh my goodness, I was not mad at all. Like I was like, this is tight. Like I was like, I respect it. Like I'm digging it. So yeah, I mean, it hit all the marks that a slasher movie is supposed to hit. You got the nudity, you got the kills, and I mean, comedy is not really a staple of the slasher genre, but I like a little comedy and a little cheese factor in my slasher movie. So yeah, it hit all the marks. And then something else that I liked is, I like the continuation because, when I initially saw the first movie, I didn't know that there was going to be a sequel, but the ending of the first movie is kind of ambiguous. We never like definitively see Sam and Josh die, so who knows what happened to them? I don't know. And then like Michelle, she survived, so it's like the ending of the first one is kind of ambiguous, and it definitely leaves room for a sequel. So it was cool to see the continuation of the story. Later on in the movie, there's I don't even want to say it to spoil anything, but yeah, you do get to see a lot of returning elements. I'm gonna say it is satisfying. There are some satisfying returns. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, I also liked the continuation of Michelle's story because she was like a main character, like one of the main characters in the first one, but it focused more on Sam and Josh, and I did really like Michelle. So this one, she's like center stage, and I liked her in this, and I liked like following her story. So there you go. Jumping into my next point, gonna talk about cameos. So we had a couple cameos in the first movie. This one, we have even more cameos. So in addition, like Linnea Quigley, she comes back in this. Ari Lehman also comes back. They were the two big cameos in the first movie, but we got a couple more cameos. So we got my boy Lloyd Kaufman, the head of Troma. I'm a pretty big Troma fan, so Lloyd Kaufman's in this. He plays the mayor. I love Lloyd Kaufman. He gets killed in this too, and his kill's pretty good. Joe Bob Briggs is in this. Who else? Doug Bradley is in this, and I believe he plays. He's like Sam's grandfather, because in the first one, Sam always talks about his grandfather telling the story of these monsters and the boogeyman, and in Doug Bradley's scene, he's telling the story of being a miner and seeing his friend being scalped by the boogeyman, and it's like a fantastic scene. He's just telling this story, and it's like really captivating. And then he says something at the end like, "All right, girls, go out there and raise some hell." And I'm like, I mean, that's like, on the nose, but I appreciate it, because of course Doug Bradley, he was Pinhead. So yeah, you got Doug Bradley. I loved his part. And then a cameo that some people would not notice, but I noticed, but I didn't initially know who it was. So basically, at the beginning of the movie, there's this scene with these Boy Scouts. They're like sitting around a campfire telling scary stories, and the Boy Scout leader, he's this bearded gentleman, and I was like, that guy looks familiar. Who is that? And so that's Drew Marvick. No, not Marv. Yeah, Marvick. I hope I'm saying his name right. Drew Marvick, and a lot of people might not know him, but he's the director of Pool Party Massacre, which is this indie slasher movie, which I reviewed on the channel like way back in the early days, and I enjoyed that movie. I thought that was pretty cool. But the reason I recognized him is because I saw some interview with him. It was like a really interesting interview. I think he was doing like advertisements. He works in like the advertisement industry, and then he started like making his own films. I recognized him from the interview, and yeah, it was cool seeing him as well. So maybe he had something to do with this. I probably should have looked into that, but I'm unprepared or underprepared. What are you gonna do? So yeah, you got some great cameos. Oh yeah, and before I jump into my next point, I have to talk about something that is related to the cameos. So there was this sequence where Linnea Quigley's character and Ari Lehman's character are fighting this like horde of zombies, and that sequence is absolutely action packed. And you know, Linnea Quigley's character in these movies, she's kind of this like uptight religious woman. She's like a religious freak. She's like all prim and proper. She thinks everything is bad, blah blah blah. So she has this it's like a fight or flight moment where there's zombies coming at her. So she has this like corded chainsaw, and even though she's this uptight religious person who would, she doesn't want anything to do with violence. She probably has never said a swear word in her life. She's just chainsawing zombies left and right, chainsawing zombies' faces, blah blah blah, and then she's got blood splattered all over her face. I love that sequence. So it was cool that in addition to the fact that we had more cameos, I feel like the people who came through for cameos, they had like a little bit more to do. So that was cool. Now I'm getting into kind of some negatives. So one of the main negatives for me was the makeup looked different in this movie. Like the three main monsters, the Boogeyman, Hollow Jack, and Candy Corn Scarecrow, the makeup on them looked drastically different, which we see that in so many horror movies. In the Halloween franchise, the mask, the Michael Myers mask, even though it's a simple mask, it looks different in every movie. Freddy Krueger's makeup looks different movie to movie. Like, that's how it goes. Like, this came out, 6 years after the first one, so, it's hard to replicate the same, have the makeup look exactly the same. I get it, but just being 100% honest, I did like the look of the three monsters in the first movie. I like their look better. They didn't look bad in this movie, but it was just kind of jarring after just watching the first one that they did look quite a bit different, just the makeup overall. But it was cool. Like, you did get to see the Candy Corn Scarecrow unmasked, and basically his head was just corn, but he was like really creepy looking, and I thought that was kind of a creative look. Another negative. So I thought Josh's sister Heather was gonna be like one of the main characters, and I thought we were really gonna focus on her story. But I feel like she just disappeared for a long while, and I totally forgot she was in the movie. So that was kind of a negative for me. And then the last negative that I have is that this movie had a lot going on, and I feel like it jumped around a lot, where it's like, okay, we're focusing on this character, like, it was kind of jarring. I'm like, okay, who are the main characters? Like, is this person a love interest, or I don't know, because they just disappeared. This new person came in. Like, the movie jumped around a lot, and there was like a lot going on. There's all these new monsters. There was this like skeleton bird monster, this pig monster, and I didn't really know like what their whole deal was. There was just there was so much going on, and it was cool. They kind of added some new elements, but it did jump around, and it was harder for me to follow. I kind of do prefer the simplicity of the first movie. It was cool to see some new things. You had some new characters, some new monsters, some new story elements, but I don't know. I feel like sometimes simpler is better, and I do like that the first movie was like a little bit simpler. So that is the last negative I have. But like I said, overall, I thought this movie was decent, totally totally serviceable sequel. I'm glad I checked it out. So, in terms of a recommendation, I would, if you are a fan of the first movie, The Barn, I would recommend checking it out at least once. I think it's cool to see the continuation of the story, but I wouldn't go in with extremely high expectations. So, yeah, overall, I would recommend it, but I would say like don't have your hopes too high. So that has been my recommendation, and that has been my review of The Barn Part 2. Thank you all very much for watching, and peace out.